Okay, rulers, settle down. Ruler School is brought to you by Odyssey Games, where you can go to get pre-orders of all the upcoming Force of Will sets, as well as releases of previous sets after they come out. ccgprime.com with over 100,000 Force of Will singles, as well as out-of-print boxes from the past, and TCG accessories, as well as fowlibrary.com, a wonderful resource for deck lists, article discussions, and more. Check them out at fowlibrary.com, as well as these amazing patrons. Special thanks to guest lecturer members Fight Ramen and Shukong Fu. Thank you for your support. Class is in session. Intro's currently playing. Hey there, rulers! Welcome back after a long week of Force of Will to your favorite ever live Force of Will vodcast. It's Office Hours. And tonight, we're celebrating Paul's birthday. Happy birthday, Paul!
Happy birthday,
Paul! Happy birthday!
What did you get me?
My undying love and support.
Oh. Mike, what did you get me?
I got you the ability to look at my face.
Oh, great.
That's pretty good.
The Force of Will company gave me an entirely new format.
That's true. That's true. This is
So
came out exclusively for Paul's benefit, for Paul's birthday. Yep. We are here. We're going to talk about pretty much one thing and one thing only, because it's the big thing on everybody's minds today, which we'll get to in a second. Before we get started, though, I do want to say thank you all so much for being here. If you like what we're doing, you want to consider supporting us, and you haven't already, you can click that join button down below. You can also go ahead and consider sending stuff like super chats and stuff. That goes to support the channel, as well as get you all kinds of cool perks, like being able to access the chat for this weekend's GP if you are going to watch and not play. Hopefully you do, however. Use the link below to sign up for Cartoon Magic's GP, because it's going to be crazy for a lot of different reasons. New set, only a week of the new set. People are doing all kinds of crazy stuff. It's gonna be a good time. But okay, we have a lot to discuss.
One thing to discuss.
Well, it's one thing. It's one thing that's three things. So we do want to say this first thing, to go ahead and jump into it. I have the article pulled up here. The first thing that we have to talk about is the fact that they are changing how clusters are being designed, right? So confirmation, 100% confirmation by the company itself, not us interpreting a German Facebook page post, but actual from the company itself here, talking about dual cluster. The last product will be D3, which will be released in May of 2022. 3-set cluster. Moving forward, we will be designing separate clusters for each theme, so we're still going to have clusters. The theme was around Revolution Order. Plan to release the first new cluster with a new theme, which means that probably Revolution Order will not be a thing post that, which stands to what we... I'm kind of happy about that. Like, let's go back to Order. Like, I like Orders as a mechanic. It'll be nice, but I'm glad that we're going to go back to Judgment, hopefully.
Judgment.
Yeah, new theme with products that will be releasing in August of 2022. For new clusters, the plan is to release an average of 2 to 3 sets per cluster, provide players with more unique rulers and cards, and they go into kind of some explanation about that, about how like balancing and trying to shove so much into a specific cluster around a certain theme brought out sameness, brought out some stretches, and brought out some rulers that were just frankly kind of meh, because they just kind of were thrown in there to fill out the space. And so the idea is, with shrinking clusters being 2 to 3, you can be more concentrated. They don't have to throw as much genericness, or I don't want to say genericness. Like,
so
they don't want to.
Like with four sets in the cluster, it also means that there's less parasitic support off of the mechanic compared to what there was before. Like stuff like the was it force resonance on these resonators? It's like that's not doing anything outside of this cluster.
Right. So it means in general we'll have less of that. It also just means that it's the idea of, you don't have a ruler that's created and made just to have enough rulers for the cluster, right? So allowing them the space to say, no, this theming we really only had 8 rulers worth of ideas for. So rather than stretch it, we're gonna finish those 8 and then move on to the next thing, which I like. I like that a lot. I think that's fine. It's a pretty dramatic shift. decided to increase the number of themes we offer the year to produce many fresh and unique rulers, hence the reduction to the number of sets. There will be no changes to the rulers or types of cards per set. They will maintain just as they always have been, and sets will be released every 3 months. So, that's great to hear. Next up, Matt Davis. Glad you joined us here tonight because we have some stuff to talk about. Now we have the biggest piece of the night, which is Termination of New Frontiers. Due to the changes in cluster specification, we have decided to discontinue the New Frontiers format, removing it from regulations after August 22 product release. There will only be Wanderer format, Origin format, which is non-existent, and Limited format, which includes Seal and Draft. So after the release of new product in August 22, all competitive events such as GPs, store tournaments, etc. will be reunified to the Wanderer format. So before we get into it, there's a couple things that need to be said outright. Competitive events are shifting to Wanderer, right? That being said, they are still releasing sets in clusters. It's right up here. It talks about it. Sets are still going to be released in clusters. So while New Frontiers as a competitive organized official format will be vanishing, you will still be able to play New Frontiers. It just shifts to being a fan format like Genesis or
Epic Stories.
Or
and in
or
fact,
Wanderer was.
it can fact like kind of like Wanderer was. It just kind of like flip-flopping. The other big thing to note is that because of the shrinkage, because it becomes fan format, and because of the shrinkage in cluster, you could argue that the community New Frontiers becomes 3 clusters instead of 2 because it's fewer sets, which will be interesting to kind of spice that up. But there's some implications for that beyond. Again, just want to make it very, very clear. New Frontiers is still playable. It is just a fan format because sets will still be released in clusters. Big difference. People have been comparing this idea of like we're going to the Eternal format of, oh, it's just Yu-Gi-Oh! Because we'll have Eternal format with the ban list. No. And yes. Yes, because the main competitive format will be this Eternal format with a ban list. No, because sets are still going to be released with a set theming blocked out, as opposed to Yu-Gi-Oh!, which is, here's 180 more cards in a 24-pack box. Here's another 180 cards in a 24-pack box. It's just constantly, like, every set is standalone in that sense for Yu-Gi-Oh!, whereas in Force of Will, we're still going to have that theming for every 2 to 3 boxes. So, big difference. So, let me talk about a lot of the reasonings why. I'm really enjoying all this dancing from Mike as I go into it. They talk about a lot of their reasoning as to why they're doing this and how they've been kind of shifting themselves to Wanderer over the past year in terms of the new promos, which have been spicy as heck for sure. The upcoming ban list every three months, that kind of stuff. They have committed here to updating the ban list once every 3 months. A commitment on the website to that, which is huge. And that they are working on an improved card database to fix up on this new website. That will be up in time for when Wanderer change goes live. So, yeah, so Vampire. So basically they're saying, you know what, let's put our rotating format aside, go nuts, everybody. Yes, and also no, because the ban list, which has been, I will say, updated 3 times in the past year, all been great. So, we'll hit about future product release, but let's just talk about specifically this idea of New Frontiers being terminated. And to that, I will say, Mike, what are your thoughts?
I'm a little happy about it.
Can you tell me why?
Let's see. Let's go through the checklist. Let me bring up the imaginary chalkboard right here.
Got it.
Office hours.
Got it.
Know what's going on.
Yep. Good.
Hey. Everybody loves to play with their favorite rulers. When you have a rotating format being the number one thing, as what you do in a competitive format, you're going to see the rulers come back with retrains over and over and over and over again, and you're going to get the same characters every single time, which is something that I've said on this channel I do not enjoy because I love fresh new ideas. I love new characters coming into the fray. I love seeing new aspects to different stories, and not just the same story being like, oops, Kaguya fucked up the timeline again. Oh no, we're back. Like, we got Tidor this set. I hope that Tidor becomes like a character that recurs eventually. Like, I like him here as a little thing, but maybe he gets a little more expansion later on in another story. That'd be kind of cool. But you don't get that right now because you constantly have to be like, oh yeah, we printed Arla again. Yep, here's Resort again. Do you like your graveyard? Now you don't. And it's just like you get to have just this such a just it's just this beautiful mesh of so many different ideas that you could just kind of come back to, and now Force Will doesn't have to constantly reprint the same characters over and over again to make sure that the old guard fanboys are like, oh, I can play Valentina again. It's the only reason I'm going to play New Frontiers. I said that once.
That's true. He has said that once.
I went back to New Frontiers when
just so he could play Valentina. Yeah.
And then I ended up just winning a tournament and getting money back to Worlds.
Yeah.
Oops.
Yeah.
Whatever. I was the Master Lich poster at the time. It's fine.
It's true. Anyway. It's fine.
But you just get so that's this part of the board right here. The fact that you don't get the recurring characters that need to come back in order to keep the old fan base. You have them. They're there. Everybody can always play with them. Let's see some new IPs. Let's see some new ideas. Let's see some new interesting characters. You have the money to make the art again. We know you. Stop making reprints, Force of Will. Let's get those art assets here.
Okay.
New characters.
Okay. Yeah.
Second thing about it is that you get dual stones back.
Yeah, that's true.
Without having to wait for them to be reprinted, because I remember when Alice Origin Cluster was coming out and you had to wait every set to see, oh, I wonder which magic dual stones are going to get reprinted this time. Oh, I gotta wait 3 sets to make Kaguya broken. Oops. Wow. Now it's just like, it's there. It's there. It's right here. That's it. It's you can always do this. Your mana is perfect. Yeah. And you know what? If everybody's mana is perfect, then nobody ever has to complain ever again.
About mana bases.
Right. Exactly. Sure. It's not just like, ooh, I'm a
Good stuff. Yeah. I do want to hit just real quick. Matthew Davis, hypothetically speaking, since I know you'll buy boxes of every set, what is the incentive to buy any more cards if I have your Wanderer Violet deck that doesn't need any more cards? So I think it comes down to what are you trying to get out of FoW, to be perfectly honest. I mean, and this is because coming from Yu-Gi-Oh, it comes down to Paul and I both did. We both were competitive Yu-Gi-Oh, right? There was a matter of like the incentive to buy new boxes was predicated by the competitive drive in that sense, but for sure. But if you're just wanting to enjoy, like if you just have a single deck that you like, that's what you want to play, then there's not necessarily a drive to buy a ton of product, or maybe there's a drive to buy maybe like one box or at a time kind of thing, or just to go the singles route. It's certainly something that you can do. There's an inherent element of, because of the way this is going to work, it could see a slight higher stabilization of where price point is for singles for the Wanderer stuff, especially for newer stuff. Pricing point for those new cards in the Wanderer format, because they will inherently go to support more rulers now, might see prices of singles go up, which then justifies, hey, just buy your product sealed because it's going to get you the most bang for your buck. And there's an element of, if you enjoy Force of Will, probably, like most people, there's probably enjoyment in deck building around the new stuff. Right. I have yet to meet at its core. I have yet to meet a ton of players in the Force of Will community who are so gung ho about a specific ruler that like that's all they ever want to play. Not even Mike Rance is that way. If you give Mike Rance a chance, if you give Mike Rance the option of like, Mike, do you want to play Val 2 or X? He'll probably always pick Val 2, but even Mike Rance will never, like, in my knowledge of Mike Rance isn't ever going to be like, the only deck I'll ever play is Val 2.
Yeah, because there's so many other rad things you could do in Wanderer.
Yeah.
Like, blow people shit up with Eyeball, and you just make them upset, and it's great.
Price drop because of rotation is also gone too, for sure. Yeah, and power creep and new archetypes. Yep. So like, if you were truly a person who like you got into FoW because of one deck and that's all you really ever want to play, like, then sure, then you can do that, right? And maybe like just the odd card here and there comes out that makes you want to buy product or buy singles and stuff. Like, that's something you will be able to do for sure, which is certainly not something you have been able to do up to this point, in terms of like competitive viability. But I think there's a point of most of us play card games because we enjoy cards, which means that we probably like more than one deck, which means that we'll probably buy more than one thing. Every player is a little bit different, but it's a great question though. Matt, great question though. Emphasis on limited format for competitive play. Yeah, I'd like to see the return of some limited products, GPs. That'd be dope, for sure. And that's probably something that can be looked into once we get into this world a little bit more, right? Because I will say that they have been doing better in terms of like the limited experiences these past couple sets. They've been really fun. So like, just get rid of either get rid of them completely or make like, I don't want to say make draft boosters, but like change pre-release packs somehow or something. Like make them so that like we can have more cards per pack to make the limited packs
Jeremy,
more
generic. I
wanted
to quickly touch on Frank Fiore's point.
Sure.
Chad. Because I did find that interesting. He said, obviously, they're going to balance the older cards versus the new ones. To me, it's overwhelming. So many options. Not saying that's a bad thing. Just dang, man. And I totally see that side of the argument. I do definitely see that kind of like, there's so many more cards now than there were when there was just 2 blocks worth of it. How am I supposed to know it all? So the thing is, Frank, actually, I did want to point this out. There's going to be, just like there's going to be a set of staple cards per color in New Frontiers, so too is that going to be in Wanderer. Like, the amount of playable cards between both formats, like the amount of like tournament level playable cards is probably about the same as it is between New Frontiers and Wanderer overall.
Yeah.
You're going to find a lot of colors have very similar kind of overlapping cards that you're going to do with each other. And also the biggest thing is that because your mana base is so good, you're going to pick and choose like kind of like a package of this color, a package of this color, pick some of the cards that are in that top sphere, and then you kind of let the rest trickle down. And then as you let the rest trickle down, then you start learning more, but you start looking into what cards will balance out with the cards in the set. You learn about a new card, now you know to think about that card going into the next thing. It's just like...
I will also say, especially with this recent ban list, with New Frontiers being gone and hitting Feith Mooge and hitting Carlina, we've talked a lot about this idea of New Frontiers, New Age FoW, has like skimmed turns 1 and 2 off the top to get to the meat and potatoes of the interaction than old FoW does. And I think that a lot of that has been predicated on 6 Sage Stone, Featsing, and Carlina. All 3 of those cards are gone in Wanderer. And so there is this idea, they can't design for limited, it would be hypocrite. I mean, sure. So with that in mind, at least for what we've been experiencing with Wanderer so far, and like, the people, what we've been hearing from people, is there is this nature of like, it's not going to be every game, but there is a lot more presence in Wanderer of decks that are going to be really taking their time and able to take their time comfortably, which is then creates like situations of, so we're not just popping off on 2. I don't have to always be pressured to have the answer on 1 or I die. Because those kinds of things that are happening have a lot more threats to them in the Wanderer space, but also don't have as many enablers in the Wanderer space because of the ban list, right? Like, take for instance, I'll just say Nyarlathotep, for example, right? We go into Wanderer format, and suddenly we've got a lot more ways to kill an Isis that's ordered at instant speed without any kind of threat. And almost every order deck is, unless they're going second, can't do anything on turn 1 to try to push themselves. And if they can't possibly do something on turn 1 to push themselves, they're probably not building to try to push themselves on 1, because they'll be building for an opportunity that doesn't exist, because 6 Sage Stone doesn't exist. So the deck has to look different in order to be successful. Like, we have a lot of implications to that kind of stuff. You're not seeing the hyper-aggressive rulers flip a turn earlier. You're not seeing Melfi into Double Big Show into Lycion on 1 after Calling Stone because I don't have Feathsig anymore. You're not seeing a turn 1 Garion anymore. Like, those things just don't exist, and so the decks have to change and build different to be more receptive of the environment, which in a sense creates a... It's hard to say that it's weird to say that New Frontiers is quote unquote more broken, but I would say that New Frontiers has a lot more early gas than Wanderer does, like early explosive potential than Wanderer does, at least now, especially with the current ban list. And so that naturally helps a little bit there too. Great question though. Great question, Frank. Yeah. Also, yeah, the 2022, the top 20 cards. We have the next 3 all done. I have to download them, plug an intro and an outro on them, and then re-upload them again. But we have the next 3 top 20 videos, top 20 cards ready to go. Did you put in it? I don't think you gave me ones with intros on them. Did you?
Pretty sure I did. I'm looking at them on here, and I have the intros.
Well, then even better, less work for me.
That is hard work.
Yeah, part of why she goes fast is because she can only go fast. Yeah, for sure, Roderick. So like
speed.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks, Mega Tribone. Cost on new cards seems too low. Not really a complaint, but I could see this feeling bad for older players. Yeah, I mean, yeah, yes and no.
Just put the new cards into your old ruler deck.
Yeah,
easy.
That's fair.
Simple.
Let's see. Okay. So I'm trying to think if there's anything else. Paul, what are your thoughts on this termination of New Frontiers?
Well, at first, I was like holding like 2 things, right? I was like, oh my god, this is gonna be amazing. Little did we know, all of the Wanderer content we were creating for this channel is gonna age super well.
It is. It is gonna age very well.
It caught a wind that was gonna suddenly blow a lot harder than we thought. The other thing that, the thing that really hit me, first of all, was why did we have to get rid of New Frontiers as well?
Mm-hmm.
At the end of the day, I don't care. And all the people I've talked to are like, yeah, New Frontiers going away. It doesn't. I don't get why they couldn't just hold on to it. But whatever, I'll still play. Wanderer coming in is amazing. I will miss New Frontiers. I know that Dan Shop will, if we say we want a New Frontiers tournament, he'd be willing to set that up for us and have us do that for a little bit.
There's no reason you can't be running New Frontiers tournaments.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing.
There's nothing saying you can't do that. So it's like they're not supporting it, but they're not saying you can't do it. Just like Epic Stories, just like all of the other stuff.
Since New Frontiers isn't a officially company recognized tournament, you can also have tournaments of just those specific clusters. If they're smaller clusters, they might be really interesting little cluster tournaments.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Or like I said, New Frontiers with 3 clusters instead of 2 because of the smaller clusters, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, and we also Europe has sanctioned tournaments in its own circuit for cluster, which isn't even an official format for Force of Will. So there's nothing saying we can't have a circuit that uses certain rules. Yeah. They're just not going to be officially supported. Yeah. Right.
To Rustin's point, hoping they would ease into it instead of going cold turkey. It is a very sudden shift. I personally would prefer. I think what you mean is let's do half and half, and then transition more, as opposed to just start a new cluster. Here we go. And I can see that for sure. I can see most of what I hear. I would say I am plugged into almost every Force of Will community in terms of public discussion, and it's helpful because I pass on the feedback that people express, and I want people to. I mean, if you saw my post sharing this to the Force of Will global page, I said to people saying, "Oh, I don't like this," I responded, "Please tell me why." I'm not trying to down bat. I'm not trying to put out what you're saying, but extrapolate, right? And I would say a lot of the feedback that we're getting is newer players who are excited but nervous, kind of like Frank is posting. People who are like Rustin, who are saying, I'm glad this is happening. It feels like it's happening very quickly, so I'm apprehensive, which is fine. And then, you know, people who are just straight up excited or like I'm coming back. Like we've had a pretty huge influx in the past 48 hours of people being like, wait a minute, I can play RR again? Wait a minute, I can play Val 2 again? And like play in competition? Like, yeah. Oh, great. People like
Frank,
very
there's
excited.
a website. Give me just a second. I think I have to further up the chat.
So this idea is I would say that the feedback right now is 85% positive, 15% apprehensive.
It's not negative, just apprehensive.
I would say, or maybe like 10% apprehensive, 5% negative, right? So, and not the apprehension and nervous and not necessarily excited about it. I mean, warranted, right? For some people, I get it based on why you got into Force of Will or whatever. I think that what we've learned from the 3 updated ban lists within the past year and the commitment here on this page, as well as the next thing we're going to talk about, is that it seems sudden, but it also seems like they have a plan to carry this out and execute it smoothly, which I think is where a lot of the apprehension comes in. Like people are like, how well is it going to be executed? This feels like the execution is setting up to be very, very solid. And that'll be the next piece that we'll talk about here in a little bit for this third part of the article. As long as there's a GP Collinsville in Minneapolis, I'll be there every year. Well, Matt Davis, as long as Svetlana continues to push FoW, there will be probably a GP Minneapolis and a GP Collinsville every year. So
I think I have a sneaking suspicion.
I have a sneaking suspicion that you're going to be good for there. Stranger, I'm in a bunch, and there's still so many cards not on the ban list that people will make broken. Like, legit, that's my thing. I don't want to play a field of Sherry's like it was before. Well, first off, Sherry's banned, and as we're going to prove this Saturday, she will always be banned. During the GP this Saturday, I have, with the help of Alejandro, built a Sherry deck where we kept the ban list exactly as it is, but unbanned Sherry, and we're going to play it live in between rounds and show you just why she should never come off the ban list again. To that being said, to your concerns, Old Wanderer, by its design, because of how cards were designed at the time, and because of Sherry's influence, we had one Wanderer GP. It was during Sherry Kirik era, which was not a good indicator of what Wanderer has become now in terms of competitive viability. Sherry massively skewed what that environment is like, as opposed to now in Wanderer, where there is a lot of fun and good competitive stuff that you can do for a lot of different rulers, both old and new, in the Wanderer environment. And so there is, I guess, I 100% understand the apprehension based on the previous Wanderer GP we had in Providence, Rhode Island, that one time. Shout out to my boy Travis Tran when we slept at an airport together because of that event. That was a really fun weekend. Being it just watching Sherry and Kirik punch each other over and over again.
Yeah, that was an interesting tournament.
I wasn't
even playing Wanderer at the time. I was just there commentating.
Yeah, but Wanderer has evolved to be a lot more diverse format than it was back then, especially because of the ban lists. So yeah. My biggest fear is that I've always had the impression Wanderer was dominated by super high-powered tunes decks, a la Vintage and Magic. I don't.
We're better than Magic.
Again. We've only had one Wanderer tournament, but the actual Wanderer scene since that one Wanderer tournament so many years ago has really opened up the field to what is possible in Wanderer, and there's a lot of variety that you could do. That uses a combination of old cards and new cards. Like, you do need to actually have a good spread.
That all being said, if you're wondering what players who do play Wanderer have been doing in Wanderer format, FoW Library has an entire vault of tournament reports.
Yeah.
For every tournament.
People doing a lot of stuff.
It is not super freaking broken. I guarantee it.
Don't want to deal with Lord
peruse
again.
the website for like 20 minutes.
Don't want to deal with Lowride again. That's fair.
They got rid of all the broken cards. I think there's still some to take a look at, but honestly, If we're getting ban list updates every 3 months, I'm not upset.
That's the other thing too, right? That's the other big thing to note here, right? That's in terms of the execution. We talked about this a little bit last week. And it was like and behind the scenes when this announcement came out, we talked about this a lot. Like in the span of the past year, they have done a Wanderer ban list based on no tournament data, like no public tournament data 3 times. And they have been big bans. Not a ton of cards, but big shakeups to the environment, right? So with that as a predication, you're talking about what happens when we go into an environment where we start getting heavy tournament data. Like, yeah, we could see, like, I could see a format where, based on what happens, we get like 7 cards added to the ban list or something like that, right? I could see that because now they're setting it up for, we're serious about this. This is an eternal format. We can't rest on our laurels because, it's just going to rotate. We're going to be willing to commit to it. And so, like, I've got a lot of positive about that, too. Out the gate, could they have banned more cards? Probably yes. But I'm not concerned about that because I'm also not concerned about how long we're going to have to wait between ban lists. I mean, they even said we're going to have another one before August. Like, they said they're going to drop another one when every new set comes out. So, like, I'm okay with this.
Remember when Yu-Gi-Oh did that?
Whew.
You'll have a ban list every 6 months.
Hey.
I promise.
Soon.
Let's see. So, most New Frontiers decks can run pretty well against Wanderer decks. Yep, for sure. Absolutely.
New Frontiers says Carlina. Wanderer don't got that.
Wanderer do not got
true.
that. But also even like New Frontiers decks taking and then shifting that New Frontiers deck to Wanderer, like those New Frontiers decks can still be pretty successful. So like, it's not like, abandon all hope because you only have ever played New Frontiers. Nah. Which is, speaking of this, I'm just starting my old English unit right now. So speaking of that, let's talk about this. The rotation from we're talking about all these old cards, right? Paul, I hear you ask, how are we going to get, for those of us who've never played Wanderer format, the top 20 card list? What are we going to have to do to get some of those top 20 cards? We're just going to have to go buy singles and hope that CCG Prime has them in their collection of over 300,000 Force of Will singles on their website. Shout out to CCG Prime. What are we going to do, Paul? How are we going to do it?
How are we gonna do it?
Yeah, how are we gonna get those cards, Paul?
You mean the reprint set?
Oh, the reprint set.
Why didn't I think of that?
Why didn't I think of that?
No.
You need to restock Kaguya Stone of Sorrow. You only have one. Get more.
So, to that end, they have announced, again, talking about execution, that this is going to be executed well. So they talk about this. We're planning different products apart from the usual booster packs so that new players will not have difficulty getting cards from previous clusters. And it says here, after August 2022, scheduled to release products with past rulers as a set and a set of popular cards from the past. So there's probably going to be either a Vingolf style or maybe a Rebirth of Legends style product that is going to be focused on, seemingly, according to this, focused on trying to get those older cards into the hands of newer players. Great.
I did say I like the idea of ROL. That set was great.
Let's talk about how I would love to see those cards have new artwork. So those of us who are shiny hunters are like, let's go, and buying that product too, because certainly...
Real talk, Jeremy. You know how half the cards in Grim Cluster were never given hollow versions of themselves because they only came in certain rarities, and only the super rares had hollow foiling on them? What if? Let's think for a second. What if something like, say, I'm trying to think of like a good card. Give me a sec.
Rabbit Kick.
Rabbit Kick.
Absolute Cake Zone.
Absolute Cake Zone. Gretel's banned, so that card's useless. But Absolute Cake
Zone. That card is an absolute cake zone. Yeah, but seriously, they talk about here.
You mean the Absolute Cake Zone?
Yeah. So yeah, after August 22, it says they plan on releasing this product to allow past rulers. We have PR cards of popular cards in Wanderer, which have been incredibly spicy. They've been really, really great. I do know that some stores are still having difficulty obtaining promos. I encourage you again to please email info@fow-tcg.com if your store's having problems with that. Make sure your store's getting registered and stuff like that. I am passing along the feedback about that as much as I can. FoW, even before I Spy took the reins, has had difficulty with getting promos to people, so it's not a new problem, unfortunately. But hopefully it still helps. Hopefully they're still working on it. And then the other thing is too, here's a big thing. They talk about where is it? They say new. Where does it say it? I'm trying to find it exactly. Update the ban list, build decks of the same theme. Both past and recent clusters. Booster and booster packs. Here we go. And booster packs that feature not only new themes, but also popular rulers from the past. This means that new sets, this goes back to Matt Davis's question, right? This means that new sets will have the Rebirth of Legend treatment, in the sense that there were cards for new rulers as well as cards for old rulers inside of the new stuff. So this means that like you're always got to be watching what's coming out of the new sets, because who knows if you're going to get a breath of fresh air, a new tool to play around with your favorite ruler. Who knows? Maybe there's a new Valentina regalia that doesn't cost 0. Who knows? Maybe there's a new let's think of something. Maybe there's a new dragon for your boy Fushi. Who knows? Maybe there's a new maybe they release a chant rune for Hanzo or something like that. You never know. I'm really sneezy. Hold on.
Calm down, Johnny. Jeez.
So, yeah, you always got to be a lookout on it. And yes, I know about your constant problem with the promos. I continue to share that feedback. I don't know what's going on. I blame some of the distributors, to be perfectly honest, for not really knowing what they're doing. These days, I'm glad you filled out your collection. Old school Grim and Alice cluster. Yeah, I'm gonna bust out the friggin' Epoch Grim.
Oh,
I get to use that legally. Yeah.
Like, what if we designed fairy tales that specifically worked with Grim to make Grim solid again?
Whoa. Rustin's saying poor Grim probably won't get more support. Tisiphone did just get printed, bud.
Oh, that's true. Tisiphone is a Grimmia support card. That's actually crazy. Yeah, I think it'd be cool if they added back reprints into cluster sets too, like an AO.
I'd rather it be segregated off to the.
In terms of reprints, I would prefer those to be in more supplemental products. I would say let's put new cards that support those older rulers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Scheherazade versus Carlina feature match. Can we make that happen? We certainly can try.
We'll add a into the mix too.
Scheherazade will win.
Correct.
I'm sorry.
I guarantee.
Scheherazade will win.
Imagine being able to play one card per turn, and Scheherazade just infinitely makes you sad.
Yeah, for sure.
Like that's just that. Like, come on, that's not a thing.
Yeah, no.
Cute Gary in turn 1 ruin story.
Yeah, that's yep. Garion. Okay, moving on. Yeah,
it's cute.
Yeah, no.
My fizz is correct. Grim will always have support because fairy tales.
Yeah, Grim will always have.
Love too.
Also,
card types
again,
getting support.
Yeah, they did talk about that, right? Also, the other thing too is, tell a fairy tale, just being like, hey, yo, double trigger your enter effects. Because that's the thing.
Yikes.
That's the thing. Also, let's talk about how, we're talking, you're like, that's a 3-cost spell, Jeremy. We're never going to resolve that into Grim's deck. Have you read the card Setting the Stage of Providence? That card is insane.
The JSS barrier.
Charlie, let's talk about Charlie. Charlie did a top 10 video, which was spot on. He and I only disagreed about the 10 slot, which I told him I would have put Lucifer there instead of what he put in the 10 slot. But his number one slot card of this set was setting the stage of Providence, and that man is absolutely correct. Both in New Frontiers and in Wanderer. That card is insane. Like, setting the stage of Providence was a card that was like, hey, cancels are too, people are like, cancels, I don't like it. Okay, just play some of this. Make your chase unchase, make your whole chase uncancelable for a turn. Like, oh. Card's real good. Alejandro, what deck is going to face your Sherry list on camera? I don't know, and I don't want Paul to tell me. I literally want Paul to be coming in blind. I want to be going in blind with your deck, Alejandro.
Well, not Scheherazade.
I'm going to be playing
gonna
Scheherazade.
lose.
Yeah, so
That's correct.
don't talk about the good fairy tale card before I get it banned again.
I'm only playing against the Scheherazade because I love you, the chat. I love
Yeah,
you.
that's true.
I want you to see it.
Yeah, we
I want you to see it.
we posed this idea, and Paul was like, "It doesn't matter what I build, Sherry's gonna win." And I was like, "Yeah, that might be true, but we're gonna do it."
That's 100% the case.
Just, Paul, whatever you do, don't place anything that wants to have a graveyard. First case in point.
So Sherry.
Also, if your deck wants to have counters on your J-Ruler, don't do that.
Yeah,
If your deck wants to play cards, you really just do not want to do that.
Yeah.
If your deck wants to attack and not get blocked, don't do that.
I'm just gonna bring a Yu-Gi-Oh attack.
Good luck. What do you
everything.
are you gonna Ash Blossom the Sherry effect?
Ash Blossom, your Scheherazade? Cry?
That's not the best part of it.
yeah, but seriously, this is all things aside for the jokes of this, what will be an absolute trap
I'm
thing
going
this
to
Saturday.
hero it. No.
This is
Sherry plays one card a turn. It's whatever.
this whole announcement, top to bottom, is indicative of people have joked. People have joked that there has to be decks that beat Sherry. Alejandro says he's currently 28-0 with the Sherry build.
So the answer's no.
Yeah. So anyway, people have talked and joked for a while about FoW just needing a reboot or something like that, or a refresher or reskin or just something, right? There's been a lot of talks about that.
Probably beat me.
In a sense, this is kind of like a soft reboot. In a sense, because how we have, as players, as consumers, as competitive players, anything else, we have always viewed the game since its release under the guise of a rotation. Always. Every card analyzed ever has been under the guise of rotation. Every deck built, every review of a new set has been under the guise of rotation. All of these things, and it is defined how we've built. It is designed how we've how we've acquired product. It is designed how we valued cards. And this is a massive opening of that space and a complete shift in how we look at the game of FoW as a whole, right? And it's almost like, especially when we see this news about the reprints, the news about thinking more about Wanderer, because I mean, we can all admit that Rebirth of Legend, in terms of this idea of like supporting older rulers in the Wanderer environment, was a knockout of the park. Like, it was a cool set to like throw some cards at some older rulers and have a good time with it, right? And so then you extrapolate on that to what would that be in a full set context and stuff like that. The changing of the clusters, the changing to how product is being designed. Like, it's a big shift, and I think it's a widening, and I think it becomes a really big way to change how people approach FoW in a very, and it broadens the ability to approach FoW from a lot of different angles, which is kind of like, hey, why don't you look at FoW different again? Why don't you come back to FoW? Why don't you try new FoW out again? New era FoW, because it's kind of a different game than when you first played it. Like, it's got some familiarity because you have the ability to now get in with any starter deck. You can start playing and like show up to your locals and have a good time. Show up to your locals that engage in the in things, right? It broadens that accessibility piece by a large margin, and also just creates it is a different world of cards, and everything they're setting up here in the article, I understand people's apprehension. I think this to me, when I had a lot of those same apprehensions, this article kind of really assuades it. Like, it's still there because now they have to, like, they've committed, they've verbalized, they've shown us the plan, now they have to execute, right? So there is an element of, like, we can be apprehensive waiting on execution. But I feel a lot more assuaded and confident in the execution because I also have a year and a half of, like, like laying the foundation of what this is going to be in how they've approached things. Rebirth of Legend, Wanderer reprint stuff, or Wanderer promos being
nice reference to an old Wanderer card, by the way.
Yeah, yep.
Wanderer, baby.
We've seen more generic splashable cards. We've seen a shifting, like we've got. I don't feel like this is being haphazardly done, and that gives me confidence. So, that's me. Need to do marketing in general? Yeah. Casual players.
Somebody who's in the digital marketing space or something.
iSpy needs to push the marketing so old players can come back to the game. I mean, I've been trying to spread it as much as possible. If anybody knows, if anyone knows any like big YouTubers who want to collab on this or whatever, let me know. I would love to talk to them about it. I'm trying to do it. I mean, it is still word of mouth for sure. Because there's a lot of stuff that can go on. A lot of old stuff I'm interested in. FoW, yeah, for sure. Action Jackson, if you want to do the emotes, you got to be a member. I see the FoW Uwu, which is one of our emotes, which is the typing for one of our emotes. But in order to do the emotes, you need to be a member. Just as I have to.
I can do it. I'm a member. I paid my $2. I did it.
LCS sales in the competitive scene. If there's anything, they don't have to worry about missing a window to try out competitive scene cards now, for sure. Store owners with older sets can now sell them with the knowledge that the cards are legal. That's a big piece, for sure. I made mine in 5 minutes by putting each good stuff that came into mine. So 90%.
Alejandro, I'm literally sending it to you on Facebook right now.
Wanderay format.
Wanderay.
Like old school UCAP commercials.
Oh,
sure.
Wanderay.
Our favorite ever for anime trope, Wanderay format. I will say this with this big news. So it'll happen in August. Is the big change. It'll happen in August with the release of the new clusters when this changed. I do want to say that we are actively working on image file. We are actively working on Falfest II, good old Electric Boogaloo. And I do want to share. Where did I put it? Did I save it in pictures? Gosh dang it! Now I have to go over here and find it. Hold on, because I want to share this. If you haven't already seen it, We're working on Falfest II, which at this point in time is gonna be confirmed to be Wanderer format for the main format.
I mean,
So,
it's
like,
gotta be. There's no other formats.
yeah, well, I mean, yeah, for sure. But also, like, that's pretty exciting. Like, I'm excited for this, like, comeback to us trying to host an event and making it Wanderer again, or let's see, and making making a new tournament, making this big kind of thing, because Falfest 1 was a ton of fun, and it's like just was an absolute blast to do it, and like getting back into trying to do this environment of doing a big event and trying to get as many people as possible. And now we can open it up even more to people, because we can say literally any point in time that you played Force of Will, you can come to Falfest 2 and play, because we're playing Wanderer format. And even if your deck is silly and just really old, like, you will pretty much quadruple up from your entry fee in terms of like what you're
Jeremy,
doing.
people can go to your tournament and they can bring Prego TK and it's legal.
Correct. You absolutely can.
All right.
And so this, we do want to show this. We are actually working on the Falfest 2 playmat right now. Taylor Aono, who did our first Force of Will Ruler School playmat, is working on our new Falfest playmat. And I want to show the like example here. So like, more info to come. Be ready to travel to an event that is going to be an absolute blast. We're partnering with Odyssey Games and CCG Prime to make this a huge event. It's going to be an absolute blast. And it is literally going to be a celebration of all things FoW. And it's great to me that we'll be right in this like fresh era of FoW when this event is going to be happening. And I couldn't be more excited. So I expect Paul's tournament report from Falfest 2 to have like 60 different rulers listed in terms of what people are playing. So be on the lookout for that. Let's make it a goodie. It says subscribe to the channel and become a member. What is the tattoo? What does Jeremy's tattoo say about tonight's topic? I don't know.
Evaluate your
I literally
cards.
translated it.
It's backwards.
Evaluate your
Subscribe to the chat.
Don't snap a bite.
Subscribe to Ruler School TCG.
So, Jeremy, I'm gonna lay something out here right now.
Sure.
If somebody goes to Falfest and top 8s with Prego TK, I will give them $100.
Whoa! There you go.
Wait, 100?
Yeah.
I mean, $100.
Really...
I mean, $100 for top 8ing with Prego TK would be pretty impressive.
Yeah, you're already tripling your money with the entry promos. Might
Falfest,
you're playing Force of Will on hard mode.
Correct.
Yeah. And I'll buy you dinner. Okay, so here's the deal. I'll step up the stakes.
Listen,
I'll step up the stakes. Here's the go. I'll add to the stakes. Okay, if you can top 8 with I'll bring back the stake challenge. If you can top 8 my Falfest 2 with Prego TK, Mike will give you $100 in cash, and I will take you out to dinner anywhere you want in Kalamazoo, Michigan that evening. I personally will pay for your dinner anywhere you want.
There's some good places
and
in KZoo.
And KZoo has some insanely good food options. Like, so there you go. Challenge. The steak challenge is back. We're bringing it back. I cannot
wait for everybody to bring this shit.
I'm pumped. I'm pumped. Let's do it. Everyone play it. So
I will
Matt Davis.
I'll post my standard deck list of Prego TK.
We put it on the channel. We played it on the channel, didn't we? We did it during a FoW Wednesday, right? During a FoW Wednesday.
Ago. It was a long time ago.
Yeah, 2 years when we were still forced to not be able to hang out. Yes. Matthew Davis, where is Falfest? Falfest will probably be around Kalamazoo, Michigan, which is where we are from. So it's in Midwest. Pretty easy to get to from like Detroit, Chicago, Grand Rapids. Those are like the easiest airports to fly into. And we'll be probably working to help to get us a hotel room block set up for people for like a discount for like if you're coming in to visit. So, which deck are you talking about? Prego TK?
Hang on, I'm bringing up the card if I can find it.
You know, honestly, that's what I'll play.
You can't play. You're going to be commentating.
I'm gonna play pregnant OTK versus Sherry. Top tier, no ban list. Let's go.
Honestly, Paul, I'm pretty sure Prego TK can beat Scheherazade. I mean, really,
Stop.
what's it gonna do?
Stop.
How can you beat the power of life? You can't.
By murdering it.
Well, it doesn't rely on the graveyard. So what's your evil one that's uprising gonna do, Jeremy?
I'll just
Checkmate,
make it.
idiot.
I'll just ruin story your prego lady.
Checkmate. You can't win.
The dolls will go Chucky on her.
It's true. That's also true. I will literally just have a last audience tapped, and I will win that game.
I'll give it Pierce. I don't give a shit. I'll make a new version of this deck. Let's go.
Oh.
What if Sumo Artichoke had?
I'm really appreciative. I do want to say here as we get what if Sumo Artichoke was cheaper and had quick cast?
This woman has had this
I do want to say
child.
I have been
That's
really
how you know it's a strong
appreciating
card.
I have been really appreciating you all in the chat who have had concerns or questions or like wanting to know what this means because these are the questions to ask and that's what
Bless you.
part of the reason we do office hours is because we want to be able to have these conversations and we want to be honest and like I think that the three of us have always been, and all of the guests who've come on office hours, right, have always been upfront with you about whether we like something or don't like something, or whether we're concerned about something or not.
I've been brutally honest recently, which is great.
Mike has been very brutally honest, which is again great, which is fine. We're not trying to sugarcoat stuff. We're not trying to like. I'll express again. My apprehension comes from execution, right? I have some faith that the execution is going to go well, but the apprehension does come down to execution. Like, all of us here love FoW. I've been doing content for it for 7 years. I don't see myself ever going away, and so I've always understood that there's been an element of, Jeremy's a shill. But
as
this
much
show,
as you are, you know what you want.
Right. But also, like, I'm appreciative of you people giving us the opportunities to talk about it rather than just like writing off what we have to say because of those things. And I'm appreciative of these two guys here for sharing conflicting opinions and being able to answer your questions, right? We as a community can make this game better by talking through stuff and asking questions and sharing, being verbal. And so as we enter this, this new age, right, of what this means and the change in product approach and everything else, it's good to have these conversations. I think, like I said, and I've shared this. I will go on record, right? I have shared this directly to the company that from everything I'm seeing, all of these things that you have expressed in terms of possible issues, in terms of we're doing it too fast or things like that, I have shared those things with the company, and I've shared again that breakdown of like, it's like 70, 80% positive, 70, 85% positive. There's some apprehension, and then there's some people who aren't happy about it. But for the most part, it's people who are happy. Like, I've shared that with the company, and I feel like that's honest, right? Because of, again, the feedback that we're getting here in the chat, the feedback that we get from the FoW Discords. Like, heck, some of the people who have been active in helping to maintain FoW's presence online but haven't necessarily played in a while, even they are sharing things of like, oh, okay, this is a pretty cool move. Like, there's a lot to be happy about here. There's a lot to be potentially apprehensive about, which is fine, but let's have that conversation. Let's, like I said in the post that I made on Facebook, if you don't like it, talk about why. Let's talk about it rather than just like scream to the heavens, because whether you like it or not, it's happening, and some of your concerns might not be as valid as you think they are if you actually talk it out. So,
but Jeremy, if I express my opinions loudly enough, that means that they'll be correct.
Oh.
Internet?
Not picking. Charlie's not picking Olive Garden. I wouldn't expect you to, Charlie. Random, but can you order Chimeric Beast of Ma'at when playing from the grave? Yes, because you're casting it. It's a good question, Gary Felix. When I see the set list, I think I'll feel better. Fair. We would believe you more if you wore the gloves. The gloves are back there.
Nobody donated 10 Canadian dollars, so it's not happening.
Nobody, yeah. Those are some heck good bars near downtown, sure. Thank you, Sharon Gonza Ninja. How are we doing, guys? We're doing great. Don't worry, I'll still be
Longer
around
is
to
the
tell
real
you you're
format.
playing
I'm
your
doing
cards
better than I've ever been.
wrong. No Gordon Ramsay, but there's a decent Olive Gordon. Stop. Paul.
Gondor. Thank you, Fizz.
Mike left. That was so bad that we kicked Mike off. Paul, any closing
I was
thoughts?
so close to making it through the whole way without my thing cutting out.
Because none of us have anything to lose. I don't have anything to lose. I am going to put all my chips in the middle and say that I Spy is going to hit this out of the park. Force of Will is only going to get better. The set is going to be something that hits it out of the park. And you have nothing to worry about. This company has proven again and again and again and again that it's dope. And besides like a little few mistakes that are definitely not Konami level mistakes, I'm pretty satisfied. They're not Wizards of the Coast level mistakes.
We didn't print
doing
Dark Armor
okay.
Dragon.
Oh, you sweet summer child.
It's gotten way worse than since then, but yeah.
Oh, it's way worse
Correct.
now.
Oh yeah. Also, can we talk? Okay, I hate to jump in, but my not a podcast without Mike losing connection for sure. But also, can we talk about like Kaguya-1 is actually a Decan Wanderer? Like K1 chant standby like stealth stuff. I think it is.
Chance S6. Chance is so good.
Yeah,
I'm
chant
so
standbys.
excited to play it again.
Chant standbys are amazing, and with again because here again, if Kaguya-1 doesn't have to deal with this super aggressive stuff that people are pulling with 6H Stone, then you're just like, nah, set 12 back row, pass. Like,
Wait. There was a card that was printed in the set. Hang on.
God, Jeremy got a
hold
second
on.
win. Ha!
Jeremy's
Okay.
torrenting.
I know,
Okay.
some. Okay, go for it, Mike. Sorry.
No, I was about to say, because we just got Amadeus' Beloved Fallen Angel this set,
Sure,
right? Okay,
sure.
So hear me out.
Yeah,
Hear me out.
I'm hearing you
Yeah.
out. I'm hearing you out.
Nighttime Raiders this thing out turn 2 with
With Kaguya-1,
yeah, baby, let's go!
all you got to do is hit him. You just got to hit your opponent with some damage.
You don't have to hit him with like damage. You just could just like sack off like a thing that deals damage. Wait, does New Lucifer does it deal damage? Or
It's
make
lost
damage?
life. It's loss of life.
Rip. Okay, we'll figure it out.
We'll figure it out.
Something's
Alice's
happening
Red
here.
Soldier. Oh my
I've
god.
done it before.
First of all,
Kane,
Percival, Red
Kane.
Percy, just
Red Percy.
there it is.
Put some Regalia in the deck too, just to have them. Got Scythe to slow down the Jubiler decks. Oh man, it's all coming together.
K1, bro.
Oh, it's
I'll tell you
all
what.
coming together.
For FoW-Fest II, here's the rule. FoW-Fest II, if you can top 8 with I'll put Mike on the spot to see if he'll match me. So Mike will pay you $100 and I'll take you out to dinner if you do Prego OTK. If you top 8 with a Kaguya-1 like chant standby stealth list, I'll give you $100 and Mike will take you out to dinner for FoW-Fest II.
I'll take you like Applebee's.
Yeah, not as any place you want kind of dinner, but there's still a
It's
dinner.
not all of Gorgon at all.
It's not all. It's definitely not all of Gorgon.
Loki stealth to a good result. Yep, I've seen Loki stealth for sure.
Yeah, Loki's just
yeah.
perfect. Loki's just broken, so I don't know why that's still legal,
yes.
but that's fine. Whatever.
Yeah, for sure. Let's see. David Hansen. I know some said the report had said that they will be reprinting the older sets, but how? Will it be a full or collector's box or just promos or what? We don't quite know yet. It seems to be like it's probably going to be some kind of sealed set featuring.
I hope it's a mini set.
Featuring like the primary like favorite rulers from the past as well as a lot of the old staples, whether that's a Vingulf versus like a bigger Rebirth of Legend focused on reprints. We don't quite know yet. Like we don't know exactly how that set's being designed. It's not like we're just going to reprint old boxes. It's going to be like a curated reprint kind of idea. Great question though.
And it says it's a set of products.
Yeah.
So that implies that there's like the primary FoW, and then there's like this little side product you can get reprints in, which is what Yu-Gi-Oh does, is what Magic does, it's
also what FoW
card
has done.
companies-
We've had some kind of, supplemental product for a while. This would be like just shifting the identity of what that supplemental product is. Which if it's got new art, I'm okay with it. As long as, for sure, I'm sold. So, a lot of stuff to talk about. A lot of new stuff coming down the pike. A lot of questions still. I'm not worried. I own all the cards. 7 new players heard this and said, how do I catch up quickly or efficiently? The time that you're going to have to catch up when this takes into effect is right around the time that the new thing's going to come out. So they will be able to catch up very quickly.
Also, just play new cards, because the new cards are also just equally strong. So you don't have much catching up to do.
Wondering with the alternative cards, can I return them with Castle of Beatrice? Yes, because they are resonators. So you could just grab the resonator side, which would then...
Resonators and chance in the
Boros
graveyard, in
retrain.
the deck, and in the hand.
Allosaurus, I want to try the deck banishing strategy. What do you think? Boros retrain?
It's red-white.
Okay. Oh,
yes,
of the red white Allosaurus.
So yes,
yes, of the red white Allosaurus.
Crossing Point, right?
That's yeah. Also, Light of Raisin Revive.
Cards. Yeah, that's a card's really good.
Card's real good. Love that
back.
card. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's gonna be there's a lot of stuff coming down the pike. This article does a really good job of simultaneously putting my fears to bed, getting me excited, giving me some apprehension, and leaving me with more questions, which is like, I'm down for it.
Called Living Dangerously.
Living Dangerously. Yeah, same art with updated borders and stuff. Yeah, that also could be a thing of like bringing everything
Black
up to...
borders are pretty ugly. Love me some of them new borders.
So yeah, it's gonna be interesting there. But yeah, that's where we're at. This is so much. I'm glad you all could be here. These have been wonderful questions in the chat. Next set is in May, and then the rotation will happen in August. That is correct. So yeah, more to come. Do want to say again, as we always do, timeline for this week on Wednesday, we will be posting the next top 20. Paul, which one are we posting this week?
Probably our top 20 water cards.
Top 20 water cards this week.
There's like 5 of them that are good, but anyway, that's fine.
Water actually about to bring some spice, like water.
I thought we were supposed to stop the spice.
But Wanderer water cards are like generic Wanderer water cards are actually pretty dang good. Like Keys,
they're the anti-meta color.
Keys call come back, yes please. Glimpse of Kaguya come back, please. Yes.
Glimpse of Kaguya, though.
Shackles of Ice come back though. Like
Bear Magic.
We say Bear Magic, but then we just got
Tiger Magic.
Tiger Magic.
Magic.
Yo, do you know what I'm gonna do though?
Now I won't be able to sleep tonight. So many decks to build.
Yeah, we were at locals this Saturday, and Dan and I started talking, and I had a deck within 2 minutes.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Like literally 2 minutes.
I'm very excited. But that's gonna be it for tonight. Again, this week we're gonna release Water. Next week we should have a feature match featuring Alice. She was the new Alice. She was the one that was voted on. From the Forcible Global page. If you haven't already signed up for the GP for Carta Magica this weekend, please go check the link in the description to go sign up for that. You can also go sign up down below for the GP the following weekend, being hosted by Games and Geek, because both of those are available right now. We will be streaming this Saturday and Sunday, the GP. A kindly reminder that if you are not participating, you are, of course, free to come watch the stream, but you will not be able to access the chat unless you are a member of the channel, which is essentially a Twitch subscription. It's just cheaper than a Twitch subscription, and it goes to support the channel financially. You will be able to watch the content, you will be able to engage, you will be able to participate in all the mini giveaways that we are going to do over the course of the weekend, including for 2 sets of one of each of the Chinese Melfi and Fallen Angel promos. We're going to be giving away one of each of those, 2 sets of one of each over the course of the weekend, so be sure to join in for that. But if you want to consider supporting the channel, you can be able to chat with us during the stream, you can click that join button down below. That being said, though, we are happy to have had this conversation with you all, but we're going to let you go for now. So until next time, this has been myself, DMO73, and I've been joined, as always, by Mike Rance.
Play more Wanderay
format, and Paul Reisman.
Top tier. Haha, that's your ruler. Top tier.
Okay, class dismissed.